I'm Jordan Buckley now in Burbank. For the second time in 4 years, residents are out and speaking up once again. In the wake of the tragedy at Uvalde's Robb Elementary, residents here and across the nation are out for the March for Our Lives, advocating against gun violence. 4 years later, Burbank residents and thousands across the country are back again. From Washington, D.C. and New York to downtown LA and here in the San Fernando Valley, people went out and made their voices heard. I was at the same march in Burbank back in 2018, and 4 years later, the sentiment remains the same.
Well, Connor brought up the idea to me, and I'm very anti-gun. I hate seeing schools being shot up, so it was definitely something that I wanted to do, and it's been a while since I've been to a march, so I wanted to come out here and show my support for the cause.
After the tragedy in Texas, the fact that they're moving or opening a gun store near an elementary school just really bothers me. No, it's sad that we have to march for this even.
An estimated 300 people showed up to march today, and there were opening remarks from several prominent city leaders, including Mayor Jess Talamantes and House Representative Adam Schiff.
Thanks to a lot of your activism and your engagement, we have made progress in state legislatures, but not in the Capitol. And it's all too easy to go to a state that has little or no gun safety legislation and buy a weapon and bring it somewhere else. It doesn't have to be this way. And indeed,
I spoke with Schiff as he marched alongside residents, asking about the Protecting Our Kids Act that recently passed in the House. Among other actions, the bill would limit the sale of firearms to adults 21 years or older, regulate the sale of ghost guns and storage of firearms, and ban large-capacity magazines.
Well, right now, the authors of that package are in discussions with the senators who are also working to try to get something to the Senate. The Senate is the much more difficult body. The margin between the parties is a single member, and I'm hoping that they will get something meaningful passed there. But it has to be just the beginning, because we need to do so much more. We need to ban assault weapons, and I think we need truly universal background checks. It just makes no sense that you can go to a gun store and be turned down because you're a felon, and then you can go out in the parking lot and buy it from someone else. It just doesn't make any sense.
Becky Frost is a 5th grade teacher who's taught the grade for 25 years. She was at the last March for Our Lives event 4 years ago.
When I talked to my 10-year-old students about this, they said our government doesn't care about us, and I really didn't have a good answer for that.
Minta Mullins brought her sons, who are 4th and 2nd graders, to today's march.
As my sign says, I have a 4th grader and a 2nd grader, and it's way too easy to see my 4th grader when I look at the kids who were killed in Uvalde, kids running for their lives out the window as my 4th grader. It's so easy to put his face right in there. Same with the 2nd graders at Sandy Hook. And I find it really sad that I've been hoping the days will pass sooner so my kids can be out of school.
What do you hope that, because I know they're pretty young, but what do you hope they take away from this?
We've talked about that already today. I hope that they come out of this knowing that they have a voice to speak up for what they believe in, and that it isn't just the way it is, because that's the way the lawmakers are saying, that if enough people come together, then we can make our collective voices heard. They actually said, well, it's hot, who wants to go? Your 2nd grade, they don't want to go. But I said, they said, well, why does it matter if we don't show up? And I was like, well, if everybody feels that way, that's what's happening right now with our terrible midterm turnout. We all have to show up and keep showing up till change is actually made.
As Schiff noted in his previous remarks, more needs to be done in the Capitol to ensure gun safety and reform, a sentiment held by many marching today.
Well, I think the first step is to ban assault weapons. I think that the numbers show that when they were banned during the Clinton administration and from then on, there were a lot fewer mass shootings. Building more mental health services for students. I don't want to hear any more talk about, we need to make schools safer, we need to have bulletproof glass. That's nonsense. I don't want my kids to go to school in a prison. And so I think just putting into act all those common sense gun laws that I think any responsible gun owner would support.
The nice thing is that there's one side, the Democrats, who are entirely uniformly behind it. So Schiff and others really just have to stand strong to their principles. But we're in a time, I think, when the alternative is so painfully obvious that those who oppose meaningful gun changes will either get in line or be voted out.
The organizer of the Burbank March, Amy Powers, said that it exceeded her expectations and hopes that people will continue their activism beyond today.
Marching is one way to make our voices heard and to bring awareness from people who might not be aware of some of the issues that are going on, but the action has to continue and you can't just march. You have to keep acting and really get involved.
I hope that we hold our elected representatives accountable. As long as the gun industry and NRA have such a grip on one of our parties, it's going to be impossible to make the kind of progress we need. When the representative from Buffalo, New York, has to announce he's not running again days after he supports an assault weapon ban, with that kind of a tragedy in his community, and even then, his party wants to get rid of him. It just shows how much hard work we have to do to win over enough members to get this done. But we'll do it. We'll do it because we have no choice. The only question is how long is it going to take us and how many people have to die between now and then. And I want to do everything I can to make sure that we get it done ASAP.
In Burbank, I'm Jordan Pagkatinawan.